Any local law enforcement officer will tell you heroin addiction is devastating communities up and down what's now known as the Heroin Highway. From Baltimore, Maryland to Winchester, Virginia, along Interstate 70 and south on 81, heroin is leaving a trail of grief and mourning. And tonight we continue our series of 7 On Your Side reports on the Heroin Highway in Virginia. Fighting back against crime investigator Jennifer Donnellan says the scramble to get ahead of the epidemic begins with a movie.
Hi, yes, my fiance just overdosed.
Will this movie save lives?
Heroin doesn't care what your skin color is, how smart you are, how old you are, whether you're male or female.
Heroin, the hardest hit, is a documentary spearheaded by the Attorney General of Virginia.
We didn't sugarcoat anything. We wanted to tell it like it was.
My mom found me in my room.
It's bringing audiences across the state to tears.
I had a niece die from a heroin overdose.
More Virginians died from heroin and prescription drug overdoses in 2014 than in car accidents.
It actually let me see a glimpse of the other part of my son's life.
Debbie Bo's 27-year-old son Keith was one of the 728 deaths that year.
But there's nothing, you get to a point where you know there is nothing you can do.
Okay, this is the city of Winchester. We are on what's been known as the Heroin Highway. We've got a problem with heroin in a place like this.
The area surrounding Winchester, Virginia, faced a jump of 1 fatal heroin overdose in 2012 to 33 deaths in 2014. And those weren't the only casualties.
We typically will have somewhere between 3 and 5 babies in the NICU on a daily basis that are being treated for withdrawal.
Newborn babies of opioid-addicted mothers.
It's a miserable thing to watch. It really is.
We represent law enforcement, healthcare professionals, treatment providers, parents who have lost children.
Winchester is addressing the demand side of the epidemic with a substance abuse prevention council.
We're also looking for affordable, accessible treatment options in our area.
While the Washington Field Division of the DEA goes after the supply side by beefing up its presence.
That was an office in DEA where we only had 2 agents assigned to Winchester, Virginia. We saw the problem. We now have a supervisor and 4 agents.
Treating overdoses as crime scenes.
Conducting an investigation to determine, where did the heroin come from, and then we'll work back to the source from there.
Getting to the source of the epidemic from every angle possible.
This is 911.
And I overdosed.
No corner of the Commonwealth is immune from this.
I overdosed on heroin.
The answer is no. Now, the news is not getting any better in Virginia. You just heard the 2014 data, 728 deaths. Well, we spoke with a top state health official. While the state is waiting for the remaining toxicology reports, her estimate is that the number of fatal heroin and prescription drug overdoses in Virginia for 2015 will stand at 800. Next stop on the Heroin Highway, Martinsburg, West Virginia. That's tomorrow at 5. We'll see you then.
Well, you want to talk about a heavy dose of reality. This has got to be a real shock for those people who were not professionals in those audiences watching those movies.
The room was standing room only, and you didn't hear a pin drop. I mean, everybody was mesmerized by this documentary. And he said we didn't sugarcoat anything. It's raw. I was mesmerized by it. I mean, he got access. There are interviews with current heroin addicts, and I tell you what, it is mind-boggling. Everyone needs to see that documentary.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
All right, Jeff.